Joanne Duffy, Planning and Economic Development Director.
David Pierce, I'm an alternate member to the board.
Mark Lemay, Select Board Rep, filling in for Peter Georgianis this evening.
Gail LeBruck, alternate and recording secretary.
Philip Devanza.
Tim Redmond.
Karen Hughes.
Okay, the first order of business is to take care of,
Yes, so I'd like to move to have Tim be the chairperson pro tem.
so there's a motion on the,
Oh, well, a regular member.
that's right, we have to do that first. A motion on the floor by Karen to have myself chair. Have a second? Second. Thank you. All the discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, passed. Tonight, we'll have both alternates, David and Gail, voting as regular members tonight, since we're short on regular members. So, first order of business is minutes from the February 13th, 2020 meeting. If you check your action items, it's the wrong date on there, it's the 27th. You can correct it if you want, but it's actually February 13th meeting.
That's what it says. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Phil.
Second.
Second by Karen. Any discussion of the minutes? Motion is on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes.
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you. All right, we'll go right to our regularly scheduled noticed new business tonight. First is map 5, lot 60, completeness review and relief from the outer 50. I won't read the whole thing. For the duplexes on Mast Road. Joanne, could you please give us a rundown?
Yep. So under correspondence, you have a letter, or we've received a letter from Jennifer McCourt, from McCourt Engineering, requesting this application be continued until March 26th. I also provided you with a timeline of what's happened with this application since the conceptual came in. So we first had a conceptual in May of 2019, and then in June and July, they had gone to the zoning board for a variance for a residential use, as it was not part of a mixed-use project in the CIFZ district. And then on 6/24, they came back with another conceptual. In August of 2019, we had our technical review committee meeting. And then in October, they had submitted for their completeness review and site plan. I had recommended that it was not complete, so the applicant chose to withdraw at that time. In January, they resubmitted for the January 23rd meeting, and I think it was immediately prior to that meeting, they found out they needed to return to the zoning board for a variance for the setbacks, which they did, and at that time, they requested a continuance from the planning board to tonight, 2/27. They did meet with the zoning board on 2/11 and received the variance that was required. And we're here tonight, and they're asking for a continuance to the March 26th meeting due to the fact that they've now met with the New Hampshire DOT, and the DOT would like them to eliminate one of the curb cuts. So they're working with them right now to do some revisions to the plan.
So,
Never accepted this application as complete.
has this application been noticed to the public, to the abutters?
Yes, but when you've continued it, we normally do not re-notify. Once you continue it to a date certain, we haven't been re-notifying.
I'd like to hear what any board members have to say on the subject, that it's been going on so long and has not been accepted yet. What do we want to do with this?
Well, I do have a concern with that, especially with the notification of the butters and just that it keeps going on, and our meetings keep kind of getting bunched up, and then somebody wants it to go out, an extension, and I just have a concern with it.
Anybody else?
Is there any reason why they couldn't come here tonight to discuss what the they could have still presented the application, correct? Even with the DOT comments about.
Sarah met with them, what, about a week ago? And
So if we could just get Sarah to come up and say her name for the record, please. Thank you, Sarah.
This is Sarah Wordy, town engineer. Yeah, they met with Fire, myself and Eric on, it was actually Friday, just to kind of keep us posted on what they discussed with DOT. DOT was no longer approving, didn't like their 4 curb cuts, so they wanted them to go down to 3. So she brought a couple different schematics, options for us to look at and discuss if they would meet Fire's turning radius and DPW's needs.
one of them, they had changed the layout of the buildings themselves.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So I think she didn't want to come present without knowing what the layout was going to be. And we only decided that on Friday.
The hard part about the way we've been doing it is that it keeps coming in with, slightly different plans, and then it's missing this, and it has to go back, and it's missing that, and it's really hard to do a complete and thorough review because it keeps changing every couple weeks.
Any more questions for Sarah?
I do.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's specific to Sarah, but, they've gotten variances, and now they're changing the entrances, the curb cuts to it. That might have an effect on the project that they have to go back to the ZBA or not.
I don't think so, because the one variance was for the use, so that doesn't change. And the setbacks were for the setbacks from the back end of the property next to the rail trail.
Well, I guess my question is, though, if they make any changes to any of that stuff.
Changes are happening up front near the driveway.
I understand, but I don't know what the impact's going to be on the entire
Yeah.
project. But
Well,
that-
again, and we haven't seen the plans, so.
I understand.
It's hard to even answer that.
I believe that the option with the 3 curb cuts, which makes one like a dead end with kind of like hammerhead turnaround, it actually pulls some of the buildings further away from their like shoreland protection or wetland buffer. So I think they met with conservation and presented the options.
They met with conservation, not this month, last month,
Okay,
so it was before the DOT.
before they figured this out.
Yeah.
But so it seems like it would be better for everyone because it pulls it away from that.
Right. I had one other thing.
Please, Phil.
The other thing, too, Sarah, I'm sure you're aware of, DOT is going to be rebuilding the Box Culvert there that feeds that
I
project.
didn't know that, but okay.
Well, the town received a notification from DOT because that's a historic box culvert that's under 114.
Okay.
And they notified the town when they're supposed to be doing that. It's out in a period of time. So I would just want to make sure that all their engineering is coordinated with the DOT
Yeah.
for the flow and everything else in there. I'd hate them to come in here and then have some change later on. Cause
Absolutely.
a problem, so it needs to be coordinated.
I will look for that letter.
Okay.
Where can we find that letter?
Derek has it.
Derek probably has
Okay.
it, yeah. And maybe we can make sure that Jen gets a copy of that and
Yeah.
recommend that.
Well, my concern goes straight to the abutters that are being notified to come in for these meetings. Abutters have been notified beginning, I don't know, when was the first notice to send out, Joanne? Which of these months on this timetable?
October?
So October, now we're into February, and the abutters come to the meetings, and then they take time out of their time to come here to speak, and then another continuance has been asked. And I think it's unfair to the abutters to take the time to keep coming in here, and these folks are not ready. They're definitely not ready, and that's not fair to the people who take the time to come in. And we should have some formula for when we would require renoticing, because people are busy and they forget and they miss a meeting and they didn't get the chance to speak their opinions about the project, and I think that's unfair.
I have a question.
Karen?
Is there anything that is preventing us from renoticing them for?
We can require that they're renoticed if we do so, but we don't want to be punitive in any type of action. We're just trying to make sure we make it fair and even for everybody that does ask for, because we do ask, grant continuances a lot. But we need to have some formula, I think, going forward in the future.
I'd be in favor of the motion if it were to be presented. And my rationale is, there's some applications come here, they have 20 abutters. This one really has only one resident that's to the east. You got the villa across the street, the ball field across the street, and public service. So there's not very many abutters.
Deverons.
And,
Do you have a list of those by, oh, you don't have it with you, obviously, what the original abutter list
So
was?
We have a list.
it's not an exorbitant cost.
It's more,
Yeah, please.
Oh, no, we're not going to take any public comment tonight.
So, I,
So I'm just looking, my concern
I
is...
view it as not an exorbitant expense.
Well, my concern is for the abutters, that's what my concern is for. So what are you recommending at this point, Joanne? What's staff's recommendation?
Well, if you decide to continue it to the 26th, we have no guarantees at this point that it will be ready. We still have a traffic study to have reviewed, which that process hasn't begun yet. And we still have new plans to review, so.
And that's only basically 3 weeks out.
Right, because even though we say the meeting is the 26th, we have to have everything done a week prior. So
So,
it doesn't give us a lot of time.
is there any reason why not to do it to a date uncertain?
You
Well-
can, and then the only thing you have
Renotice
to
it.
do is renotice.
And
Yeah.
renotice it.
Yep.
I think that probably makes the most sense.
Mhm.
So,
So we would need a motion,
I'll make that motion.
and could you state it, please?
Sure. Make a motion to grant a continuance to a date uncertain with re-notification to the abutters.
Any second?
Yes,
Second by David. Date uncertain. With renotice. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm abstaining.
We have one abstention. Motion passes. So you'll notify the applicant, Joanne, please, of the decision of the board?
Yes, sure.
Thank you very much. Okay, the second item on the agenda tonight is map 9, lot 93, 94, and 94-1. This is a lot line adjustment on the Grady properties on East Dunbarton Road. Joanne, please.
So you'll probably all remember that this application was before you for discussion purposes. I think it was about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. And at that time, the property owners wanted to do a boundary line agreement because this property is family-owned, and they were trying to straighten out some old deeds, and this way that everyone could get their own parcel, and this could be all straightened out. However, the planning board felt that this was more than just a boundary line agreement, and requested that a lot line adjustment be submitted. So that's what you have in front of you. Basically, it's the same plan with a few different notes and the lot line adjustment. The Conservation Commission reviewed this last night, and they didn't have any concerns. I think their biggest concern was the fact that lot 94 will need a dredge and fill to cross over that wetland to enter the buildable land in their towards the middle of the property. But that was an existing, that wasn't a change that this plan made, it was existing. But the survey is here tonight to explain any questions. My only question was when I added the acreage for the current and then compared it to the proposed, it didn't equal, there was a difference of about I think it was roughly 6 acres.
Okay.
So Cynthia said she would explain that tonight.
Okay. I'm looking through the paperwork. Could you describe the waivers, please, Joanne?
So when they were here the last time, the board said, they wouldn't expect this to be, since they're starting from lots that had already been developed and they're very old, they were expecting several waiver requests, and they didn't see an issue with it. So the first one is the wetland district and wetland delineation. They were flagged back in 2003. Most of the time, conservation would have asked for an update on the flagging, since it's been quite a while, but they're asking for a waiver for that. They're saying that no development is planned through this particular plan. They're asking for a waiver for no topography, since no development is planned. The driveway locations are not shown because, again, they don't know where they would be going. And they're asking for a waiver for perk tests, septic box, test pits, because no development is planned. And then the other thing I think needs to be addressed is under the notes, lot 93 is referenced, under the notes section, it's referenced as Plan 1, and I think that should be changed to Plan 2. Sarah and Mike had some comments regarding existing buildings that are currently on lot 93. There's several outbuildings that are not shown on this plan. However, those are existing. And I think they're questioning whether they need to meet the setback. They're also asking about the well radius and whether it meets the subsurface setback requirements. They've asked for granite monuments along the town's right-of-way and the boundary marker. They're asking for digital files, written certification that the monumentation has been set, and they'd like a symbol legend on the plan.
So, before we bring the applicant from, Sarah, do you have anything you'd like to add to what Joanne has just laid out for us in this application? Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we'll invite the applicant to please come forward.
Are we going to accept this as complete?
Well, we're going to do an acceptance procedure.
Yeah, you should.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll let the applicant come up, and will you please do that?
Sure.
It is complete, and there's no regional impact. You just have to vote on that.
I'll make that motion then.
So, we'll get a second.
Can that be all
They
right?
all sit down.
Yeah, no.
And regional impact.
There are three different things,
Three different
right?
exhibits.
No,
Okay.
no regional impact.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the plan as complete and that there is no regional impact.
Got a second by Phil, made by Phil, second by Karen. Did you get the motion? Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
What are we doing?
Just take
All
one.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. State your name for the record.
Cynthia Bovier, Arago Land Consultants, and I am here regarding the lot line relocation for MAP 9 lots 93, 94, and 94-1. Appreciate the discussion that we had the last time I was here regarding the boundary line agreement. The boundary line agreement is signed and recorded. It's already on record, so that is plan reference number 1 on this lot line relocation plan. Would you like me to get back into the basics for why we needed the boundary line agreement, or are you all set?
Very interesting.
Why don't you do it just for the record, Cynthia, so that there's no confusion, please?
These 3 lots were from various people in the Grady family, and they had overlapping title. And as well, the descriptions didn't match abutting parcels. And they, again, they overlapped one another. So I did bring it because I figured we could get into it again. But So, map 9, lot 95 is not on the lot line relocation. There didn't seem to be any problem with that. Lot 95, which is the pink, that is what the record plan shows, that's what the tax maps show, but the Grady Trust deed overlaps it by 4.5 acres. So, per the boundary line agreement, they did agree to the boundary per the record plan, and the Grady Trust acquiesced that to the owner of lot 95. The yellow lot, also, it had some encroachment, or by description, it went into lot 95, and again, they agreed to the plan for lot 95. Then the two Grady Trust parcels, we unmerged them earlier this year. The town previously had all of lot 94 and 94-1 in one parcel. We unmerged them, they're separate chains of title. So lot 94-1 came from a Martin Grady, and lot 94 came from a John Grady.
Cynthia, may I interrupt you for 1 second,
Sure.
please? Is there anybody in the audience that's trying to see the map that she's speaking of? Could you spin the map so it's flat against the
Sure.
wall, please, Cynthia? That way everyone can see it. Anybody who wants to come up a little closer, feel free to come up and look.
Sorry.
No, that's good. I just want to make sure everybody could see it.
Yeah, if anybody's colorblind. So the Grady piece originally went all the way to the Hooksett Road, but now it stops right in here, and it goes around lot 94A, and then it goes around lot 93. Lot 93 came out of lot 94, and it was subdivided out by John Grady, and he created the plan, but he created the plan 1959, and he had sold the property many years earlier. So it's kind of like, well, okay, so we had all this just unusual things. And then one of the exhibits that I gave you is the record plan for lot 93. It is plan 22229, and the plan doesn't fit on the ground per the monuments, and so that was another problem that we had. We have one iron pipe out there, there's a little bit of stone wall, and so therefore there were problems with that too, but the major problem is that the remaining Grady Trust land cuts right through lot 93 as well. So we were in discussions with Tommy Grady, lot 93, the Henry and Claire Grady Trust, 94 and 94-1, and the boundary line agreement, the lot line relocation is what they all agreed would be a good way to settle the title of all of these parcels. So that's what we have here. We have created lot 93, even when it was created, was not 2 acres, so now it's 7 acres. It goes into the swamp area. Lot 94 has 207.9 feet of frontage, so it has legal frontage. And lot 94-1 has more than enough frontage. They all meet current zoning, so we're making everything better. Does anybody have any questions about why we felt we needed to do all of these adjustments?
Thank you for refreshing my
I
memory.
got one little thing, it's not swamp,
You have to read-
it's waterfront.
Is this one of the applicants?
This is Hank, Henry
He's
Grady
welcome to come
Jr.
up- If it's with your permission, he can come up and sit next to you, but he has to.
She asked me to stay back.
It's just if anybody who wants to speak has to be recognized by the chair, and you have to give your name. And we're happy to hear from you, but you'll get your chance. Thank you. Go ahead, Cynthia. I know, when you start.
Okay, so one of the first things, and that was one of Joanne's comments, was with regards to the acreage. There's a discrepancy in the acreage.
Okay.
And basically, the only acreage I have out there is what we created was from the boundary line agreement. It's the acreage as we now have it. But on the plan, I put original acreage, 11 acres plus or minus. I put plus or minus because when we went to go for the unmerging, we did it based on what the town had for acreage for the lots. There's more land out there than what previous records showed. So it didn't really bother me for the boundary line agreement because, but I thought for a lot line adjustment, it might be helpful for the planning board to say, well, if it's a lot line adjustment, what was the acreage before? What is the acreage now?
Understood.
And I think the biggest one is the Lot 93, because the plan says it's 1.8 acres, and based on the monuments and what I found, it's my 1.7 acres plus or minus. So, and I really debated not putting any acreage on it at all, but I just thought down the road, I can't up the acreage to meet what it actually is for the previous or the original, because it really never existed. That was my problem with that. Does anybody have any questions about that? I can adjust it however you may want to. And if you also notice in the notes, I don't say previous area, final area. I just say what the final area is.
I think in terms of the acreage, if all parties involved in your lot line adjustments, the owners of all the adjoining properties, are all in concurrence with your calculations and on the plan, I think that's good enough for us, because in the old days, they just guessed. Nobody actually went out and surveyed and did calculations, so.
True.
I'm finding you're probably much more accurate than what was there before.
It is.
And unfortunately for them, now their taxes are going to go up because there's going to be more acreage than
There you
it
go.
used to be, which is unhappy for everybody, but that's just the way it goes.
True.
That happened to me. So I think if any other board members here, we'll just do a little straw poll. Anybody have any problems with the acreage calculations, the way they're submitted, and we're all good with it or not?
All good.
All good? David?
Good.
So the board concurs by straw poll that we're going to accept your professional opinion on the acreage.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about that.
The next, and I already changed the reference plans. Thank you, Joanne, for pointing that out. So what I did on this plan was the first reference plan is the boundary line agreement, because that really was the driving force behind this lot line relocation. The meets and bounds and everything is the same. And then the second one is the Plan 2229. So that was the next section. And then everything else is pretty much on the engineering comments. With regards to the existing outbuildings on Lot 993, for the new lot, as it was stated, all of those buildings out there are existing. And so they meet setbacks. I think there might be one on that sketch that I gave you that the, pull mine out. There might be one that sits over there's a couple of the structures that look like they sit over the old lot lines and everything, but, Tommy's been pretty much using all of that area, the family with permission and everything, they're cousins, and so that really was not a problem. So therefore, with regards to the side setback, they're all pre-existing buildings, so I feel like they're non-conforming pre-existing buildings, and they're sheds. The house was the big one that was very close, and how I determined the lot line actually clipped the corner of the house, but I think for the use of the land, it always was assumed that, Tommy's parcel, Lot 93, went all the way over to the wetlands, and there's a fence there, that high wire fence. So, with regards to showing those buildings, again, they're sheds, they're portable, they're temporary. I don't know. I can't see the benefit of them being put on the lot line relocation plan. Any comments?
Comments from the board?
I'm fine with that. That's historical, it's been like that, and it's also been a working farm.
Right.
And we're not changing the sideline
Right.
that is part of this lot line adjustment. That sideline is where it was from the original plan, correct? The one that comes from East Dunbarton Road in on the left side of the map?
No,
the-
that is a new lot line.
But isn't there a line on the,
The one that shows, the one with all the buildings, what I think the original plan was, is the one that circled with 221.38. That was,
that was the original line that,
yeah,
and the new line is the dark line, which is
Yes.
farther away from it.
right, farther away.
If anything, the situation has been improved, correct?
Right, and the house is definitely out of all the setbacks.
The only thing that looks like it could be in the setback is that one little tiny rectangular building
True.
that's on the 221-38 line.
It does look that way, but
It's-
the property line is right where that high wire fence is, and that shed is inside the fence. So
Okay.
it's just because my, the boundary line as I have it on this is on top of that shed.
Any discussion about the buildings from the board at this point? No? Okay, we'll move on.
Okay. I gave you an exhibit with the existing septic and the existing well. So the well is probably halfway on the new lot, and the existing septic is behind the house where that high wire fence is.
Where is this exhibit you gave us?
It's this one.
The blue one? Okay.
No, the
No.
one that says septic and
Has a
well.
red circle for septic.
I don't have that one.
I don't have it.
I didn't get that.
There were three sets
They all
passed
went that
around.
way.
I only got,
I got two.
okay, they just didn't quite, they
Oh.
never quite got that.
Now I don't have one with
All right, now we can follow.
Thank you.
Septic and well are on the
Sheriff.
same
All right,
one.
that's not a problem.
Yeah, septic and well are on the same plan.
It is, okay.
So, the well, again, I did show the 75-foot radius, that is the existing well, and the existing septic is northeast of the house. So the deal with, I think Sarah's comments were
That's the
that
septic
it
in the
meets
building.
New Hampshire DES setback requirements. So these are existing septic systems and wells. And I talked to a septic designer, and if something had to be done with this septic system, and that would be the big one, you'd never want it within the area of the well or the wetland setbacks, but because it's an existing system, DES looks at all of those individually, and a replacement system has a little bit more leeway than a brand-new system. So they don't ask us to show the box. Now, this lot is going from 1.7 acres to 7 acres, so there's a lot more dry area there, should there need to be a replacement septic system. So I think we do meet. And 5 acres is a minimum state subdivision, and we're well over that, so that's,
So on the subject of the well radius, DPW's comments is show the well radius and does not recommend granting this waiver request. Normally, we ask for a salt waiver for the salt, isn't that correct?
Oh, yeah, so.
I don't see it on here.
I was just thinking that as I was looking at it, that we should probably also add to that. It's just a standard, really easy form to fill out, just for any existing wells that their radius goes into the town right of way, it just holds the town not liable.
But what's your comment that does not
It
recommend?
is not shown on the plan, so we thought they should be shown on the plan.
Oh, it should be shown on the finished plan.
Yeah, I think the waiver was to not show them.
I understand.
So, since it wasn't hard to produce this drawing of them shown, I thought.
Well, I didn't see was that one of your waiver requests? No, that was not a waiver request, to not show the well. That's not one of your waiver requests.
Yeah, that's not my understanding.
So you're gonna have to show the well on the final plan, Cynthia?
well, it says perk test septic box. I can show the well.
Yeah, I think you should, because you're gonna have to provide a salt waiver for the town of Goffstown, so that because the radius goes into the town road, should salt get into the well, the town won't be responsible for the well.
Okay, I think you have a standard form, because I think we had to do that on Grady Hill Road. Okay,
And the well obviously is downgrade from the road, so the water wants to run in that direction anyway. So that'll have to be, add to that note on our,
So that could that be a condition of approval?
it will be a condition.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Joanne, could you word that in our condition of approval?
Yeah, I did
Appropriately.
already. I included it.
You did?
No, I mean, I just wrote it in, not.
But
it's
you'll
not-
let us know about that at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 8 talks about it. We'll just modify number 8 on the conditions, the suggested conditions. So, you modify 8, it'll say shoulder well radius and the EDA septic system. But then add, remove the DPW does not recommend, but the DPW requests a salt waiver, or whatever the appropriate terminology is for that form.
Well, liability release is that?
Well, liability, okay. I'll let you word it for us, Joanne. All right, Cynthia, could you continue, please? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No problem. Yeah, I think when I was looking at the waivers, I was thinking about testing the lots for a new lot, where
Right.
we're 3 lots and we're still 3 lots, so,
Right.
okay. Granite monuments on existing East Dunbarton Road angle points. I feel that the requirements for granite bounds, they're within the design standards for improvements for new subdivisions, new roads. These are 3 existing lots. There's, again, there'll be 3 final lots, and I think for us to set granite bounds at the angle points on an existing road is just, it's not fair. There's stone walls along there, we're gonna be setting iron pipes for lot corners. Any surveyor down the road, I was able to determine the right-of-way. I think for the purpose of this plan, setting monuments on the existing variable width road is outside the, there won't be a road acceptance here because it's an existing lot of record, and of course, the owners own to the center line of the road in fee anyway, so we don't feel that that's a requirement because it's for development and improvements. There's no improvements beyond fixing the title in the lot lines.
Chair, Mr. Chair, but Cynthia, you do agree to put monuments on the boundary line where it touches the road?
Yes, I think I'm putting in,
It's just,
yes,
where the boundary line follows the right-of-way, it becomes more complicated.
right, yeah. And we're putting iron pipes at the lot corners. That's our intent.
Lot corners, thank you.
Yeah.
Dave, would you clarify for the board what you just discussed with Cynthia, so everybody knows what you're talking about?
Well, it's the boundary lines that come from the interior of the property and touch East Dunbarton Road. Those,
Edge of the right-of-way.
yes, touch those primary corners of the boundary line should be monumented.
But the points where they change direction, you're saying not monument them?
Yes,
Because they change directions within that 300 and whatever, how many footage the front of 93.3 is. So just the 2 corners only you're talking.
yes.
Everybody on the board understand
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
A surveyor would be able to take this plan and starting from the corners would be able to reestablish all those
Correct.
points along the road.
Are those the only 2 granite bounds that are in question, Cynthia?
I'm not sure, I'm not,
Because they show the other corners, interior corners, iron pin.
the other interior corners are iron pins, yeah. And I'm only setting iron pins for the lot corners as well. That's my intent.
But the 2 points that David's speaking of, where it meets East Dunbarton Road, are you agreeing to put 2 granite bounds at those 2
No, we're
places? You're
putting iron
asking.
pipes.
I'm happy with monumentation, period.
When you-
I'm not gonna,
Monumentation implies granite bounds, correct?
okay, well, I'll specifically say an iron bar with a
Okay,
cap
well,
on
I-
it is suitable.
Right.
I assume it's an aluminum
yes,
cap.
rebar, yep, yep.
All right, so
Metal
the board
pipe.
can discuss
Oh,
that.
like plastic caps,
Yeah.
they
We can
bust.
discuss that at the,
When there's a road, so the angle points in the road are very different than the lot corners. And so as surveyors, and for your subdivisions, we would put an iron pipe at the lot corners, even at the right-of-way. But then where there's a change of angle of the road, that's where a granite bound would go, or a PC or a PT for the curve. So that's where, what the standard is. So normally when you see nowadays, a granite bound on a road, you know that that's an angle point for the road. We're also setting some of the interior, we're setting iron pipes at some of the interior corners, like on lot 93, where it goes in 210 feet. We are setting an iron pipe there. That's pretty much right at the edge of the wetlands, so you can see where the line's going. All of the other property corners are in the middle of the lake, the pond, the wetlands, the waterfront area. So the property lines go right into the center of the wetlands. So to put an iron pipe at those corners, number one, they wouldn't be stable. They would be covered with water, they'd move the ground and everything. So, and the lot lines as we have them, pretty much, they are almost perpendicular, but they're going into the wetlands and then they go around. I think it's going to be pretty obvious. There's no sharp angles that it's going off at a 45-degree angle, so the setbacks and everything, so.
Cynthia, is the line, the little short line that separates map 9, lot 94 from 94-1, is that a new line that was added as part of this project? The little short line?
Yes, that is, yes, that is new.
So you feel that line should be,
Well, where they meet's in the middle of the swamp.
oh, it's in the middle of the swamp as well?
And there is, and
I see
there's a stone wall and that's a pretty well-known corner out there, so.
okay, trying to avoid problems later.
Would the final plan show the words, IP set?
Well, if we get them done before the plan is done, at this time of year, I mean,
So-
we actually would have set them in the previous month, but I didn't send the crew out because
I'm
we
just
had the
saying.
boundary line agreement.
20 years from now, if somebody picked up this drawing and saw the words IP set at certain monumentation, but saw nothing at the others, they may draw the conclusion, well, there wasn't
we
anything
didn't, yeah.
set.
Well, and so Goffstown is requiring me to give a certification to the town that we did set the pipes. So until I set the pipes, it stays to be set, but wherever I have to be set, they will be set. And we give letters to you and certify that, so. It depends on the time of year and whatnot. I mean, we didn't get snow this storm, but if we, with the banks, and that's the other trouble is, I don't know what the banks are out on East Dunbarton Road, but if there's still snow banks and the point comes in the middle of it, that gets pretty difficult, so.
You have anything else for us in your presentation?
We'll be definitely giving you digital files, which is standard. So the legend, I didn't have a legend on this plan because it's such a simple plan. Any power poles are labeled, utility pole, typical, stone wall, typical, wetland, typical, the existing iron pipe, typical, iron pipe to be set, typical. So I can put a legend on there, but I didn't.
I think a legend that covers the items that are shown on the plan would be appropriate for the
Okay.
plan. Like the wetlands markings and what the dotted and dashed lines mean, whether they're building setbacks or wetland setbacks, just as long as they're clear that people can read them later.
It appears that all of the boundary lines which are disappearing, they have been textually noted as
Yes,
to be abandoned.
right, yeah.
There's different weight of dashed lines here, but every one of them has a textual explanation next to them.
If anything else from you, Cynthia, at this time?
Not for me.
You can hang right there if you'd like for a minute. At this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. At this time, if anybody from the public would like to come up and speak, you're invited. Sir, come on up. Cynthia, could you just kind of scoot over to one side, please? Give him a little room.
Steve Downboys. I'm on the other side of the pink line there.
Did you get his name?
The Gamboys?
Downboys, Damboise.
Okay, sir, thank you.
The question I had is it, just to get everything straight, tonight you're dividing this into 3 lots, is that correct?
We're changing the lot lines of the existing 3 lots. There are 3 lots, we're kind of fixing them.
Yeah, and and that's for what? For sale, for house lots? Is that the idea?
The family is probably for sale, yes. The family is not planning to develop it.
Yeah, okay, so I just curious, because where I live there, I'm concerned about that.
Yeah.
Is that, I see the orange line on the map, it's going right through the green lot there, what is that?
That's their boundary line agreement. That's how their current deed,
Well, that's what you were talking about as
that's
far
the
as changing
current
it.
deeds, they all overlap
Okay.
each other.
Okay, that
So,
makes sense. I
in
got
fixing
that.
that, we did this
Yep.
as well.
All right, okay. And then, the wetlands, all hydric A soil, you've gone through that already?
Well, we flagged the wetlands in 2003, which those would have to be redone if anybody was wanting
Want to
to
build?
develop or build.
Okay.
So, that's a known thing, and anybody who might be interested.
I only brought it up because I noticed that you were calling it wetlands, and it's basically the hydric A soil means that it's a swamp, more or less, you know?
Yeah.
It's wet all the time, is the way the state says, and I just was curious if that was anywhere
Right.
noted here, what was what?
We did it just because, so that the families could know where the good land and dry land is and where the limits of it are, but it still is pretty obvious in the field, but for any development, they would have to have that redone. And if anything was further subdivided or more house lots or anything, then it's a whole new project, which we're not
Do you have
doing.
a copy of this? I'd really like to have one if I
So
get
we're sort of veering off of our normal procedure. Normally, we don't do question and answers
Oh,
between
sorry.
you folks.
Okay.
It's fine, I'm glad you answered
I
your
could
questions.
ask you, then she'd have to explain,
Well,
so probably no
just
difference.
procedurally, we don't usually do it this way.
I'm sorry.
Maps, yes, you can get copies of anything that's either presented or approved from the planning office. I don't know, do you have to pay for them, Joanne?
I think they're like $1 a
Well-
page
Yeah,
or
I don't care.
something.
I'll give you my copy before we leave tonight if
I
you
don't
want it.
care, I'll pay $1 for it, I don't care.
But the point is that anything that's approved later is available for viewing at the town desk upstairs at the planning office, as well as you can have a copy made, and you can take a copy with you if you like.
Right. So then what the meeting's all about is just straightening out the 3 lots?
Oh, because making sure the lines and setbacks and different elements of a proper plan are
All right,
met.
that's fine, I think I'm all set then.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Here, you can have my copy. Tons of
Appreciate
it.
it, thank you. You want the buck?
No.
Is there anyone else at the public here that would like to speak on this application? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Okay, we need to address the waivers before we go any farther. Board members?
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't see an issue with
Procedurally, Joanne, procedurally, do we have to do anything like where we state information, we just vote on the
So
waivers?
did you vote yet on the completeness and the?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. No, you can just go ahead and vote on the waivers as a whole, or you can do them individually.
Well,
One question. Just take a picture of that real quick.
sure, I guess, why not?
Room.
It's on TV,
It's on TV.
and so are you, and all of us.
Oh, I know, I've been here many times.
All right, I think we should deal with the waivers individually as procedure has always been in the past. So, I'm gonna let you, Phil, lead the charge over here with them and get things taken care of.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we request, grant, waiver. Number 1, which is from section 2E, 2D, 3D, wetland district and wetland delineation. And wetlands shown, they were flagged in 2003.
Phil's made a motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Second by Karen. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
I'll make a motion that we grant the waiver request, number 2, Section 3C, 30 wetland delineation. No development is planned through this plan.
Second. Second, same as before, Phil and Karen. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, passes.
I'll make a motion that we grant the waiver request, number 3, Section 2, E2D, 3C topography. No development is planned through this plan.
Second.
Same by Phil and Karen. Motion has been made. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I'll make a motion that we grant the requested waiver, number 4, Section 3C, 14 driveway locations. No development is planned through this plan.
Second.
Motion by Phil, seconded by Karen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes.
Now I'll make another motion to grant the requested waiver, number 5, Section 3C, 22, perk tests, septic box. No development is planned through this plan.
Second.
Motion by Phil, seconded by Karen. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. So the waivers have been granted. So now board members' discussion on items of this application. So we have to make sure we have our conditions properly written. Joanne, how do you have number, first of all, should we, since we had a discussion about the existing buildings, should we eliminate number 7 in your opinion, Joanne?
Yeah, so numbers 1 through 6 are the same. Nothing changed with those. Then I have eliminate number 7. And then it's number 6. Wait, let me get
It
this
looks
straight.
like there's 2 number 7.
Yeah, there must be. Okay, so the first number 7, eliminate. The second number 7,
Thank you, Phil.
eliminate.
Supposed to be doing that. It was off.
Mine, Joanne.
And
Okay.
then
Sorry about that.
number 8 would become number 7, but it would state, show the well radius and EDA septic system on lot 993, period. And then the next sentence is deleted, and then you need to add provide well liability release form.
Did you say that becomes number 7?
8 becomes 7.
8
becomes
becomes
7.
7.
We're deleting both 7s.
We're
Oh,
deleting
deleting
both.
both 7s?
Both 7s, and
Okay.
then a new 7, which was the old 8.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure we're clear.
And in the middle of that sentence is eliminated.
So
Would
then 9 becomes 8.
Then 9 is eliminated.
Is eliminated?
Now, as
And
the
you're-
board
you're
concurred that we're going to,
replacing
we have to make sure we have this, as the board concur that we're going to give relief from the request for granite monuments and allow iron rods and such to be placed in place of granite, iron monuments or granite
Correct.
mounds.
Correct.
Everyone concurs on that?
Yes.
So the way I worded that was primary corners of boundary lines will require iron pipes with rebar cap.
And that's number 8 now?
That's now the new number 8.
10 becomes 9.
And then,
Then the last two are
number
number.
10, the old 10 is the same. And the old 11 is the same.
Okay, so we end up with 10 conditions total. Right.
Yeah.
And you said on the new 7, the last sentence is deleted?
Yeah, because they're gonna recommend a well radius
Right.
liability be provided to the town.
Right.
Everyone in agreeance on the, and do you understand all the changes, Cynthia?
Yeah, will I get a copy of those so you want all of these on the plan? Do they have to all be on the plan? I don't like to put things like,
So-
don't have anything to do with the property boundaries on the plan.
The,
These are requirements for your final plan. Setting bounds doesn't have to be written on the plan. They
Oh.
just have to be shown if you put a
Okay,
bound
all
on the
right,
plan.
all right. I know, because a lot of times, the conditions of approval, like some towns
Yeah, and
want to have
sometimes they are
them
written,
written,
right.
the list of them, but some of these don't, okay.
It can be an additional document.
It
So it's
depends on
more,
the-
it's a checklist, again, before you, okay,
yeah,
okay.
You're
The
good.
only thing is for the, you said the primary lines of the property lines, but in the dry area,
We understand, we all agree that you can't go out in the middle of the wetlands and set rods or bounds or anything, so.
okay, all right,
As
that's the
long
only
as you,
thing.
as long as your plan reflects these bounds are provided rods and such, as you've described.
Yep,
Wherever
yep.
the dry areas are, that you can
Okay.
provide them.
Okay, I just wanted that clear, okay.
And then you're gonna show on your final drawing.
Right.
Where they have been set, as David requested.
Right, and they are pretty much, we are.
Only because when this plan goes in the file and someone wants to go out and find them, at least they're properly marked on the plan, they can go out and look for them based on what's
Exactly.
represented on the plan. Okay.
and we can add in the comments, or the conditions set in dry areas.
Yeah,
So
that's
there's
fine, just make it, just you handle it administratively, please.
Yep, nope, I'm all set with that.
Does the board have any other items to discuss on this application? What are you doing?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan with the 10 conditions.
And a motion made by Phil to approve the plan with the 10 conditions as we've just written them. Seconded by Karen. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions, passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
You're gonna have all this free time now.
I know.
A lot of work.
I know.
All right, we're gonna take a second here to get squared away here, because we got stuff everywhere, and then we'll get on to the next application.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Public service. The open shut.
We do.
Okay. Excuse me.
You can bring another chair up if you want.
Okay, our next application that's been noticed this evening is for Public Service Company, DBA Eversource Energy, easement owner, seeking conditional use permit to replace overhead electric utility structures. I'm not going to go through the whole written agenda there. Joanne, could you please run it for us?
So this pole is located on, near the Elm Street area, near Glen Lake School. And there's just one pole that's in the wetlands that they need to replace. It's an old wooden pole, and they would be replacing it with a steel pole about 10 feet higher than the old one. They met with the Conservation Commission last night, and the Conservation Commission had no concerns. And they will be putting mats out to protect the wetlands. The project should start shortly within the next month, and it'll last for only a couple of weeks. What do you think? What else you said last night?
It's good summary.
The pad site will be 100 by 100 by 100 feet around the structure to protect the wetlands. And they're here tonight for a conditional use permit. You've seen these, several of them this past year from Eversource or Public Service. So it's the same issue as the last time.
Joan, have we been provided with a map of any kind for where this project's
You
located?
should have a map attached to your application.
Give me a minute, I'll see if I can find it.
I have extras if you need.
I'm sure, here it is, I think, maybe.
Yep.
This one?
It's a foldout.
Oh, there it is.
Same packet.
It's buried. Got it. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm sorry, Joanne, to interrupt you.
So they just need to explain how they meet the criteria for a conditional use permit.
All right, is this a formal application we have to accept as complete and ready for review and such?
Yes, so
Right.
it is complete and there is no regional impact.
All right, so I'll let you start with that, Phil, please. Since I always do it for Barbara.
Yeah, I know. I'll make a motion to accept the plan as complete with no regional impact.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion to accept the plans complete, ready for you with no regional impact. Second by Phil and Karen. Any discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Thank you. So do you have anything else for us, Joanne, or should we ask the applicants to speak?
No, I think they can present.
Okay, could you state your names for the record, please, gentlemen?
Yep, my name is Chris Wilkes. I work for VHB, supporting environmental permitting on behalf of Eversource.
Jeremy Fennell, licensing and permitting for Eversource.
Did you get the spelling of the last name? Thank you, gentlemen. Please continue.
Yeah, so Joanne made a nice summary there. I don't know how much more I have to add. It's a pretty straightforward routine maintenance activity. Like she had mentioned, structure 138 right off of Elm Street. It's a 3 wood pole structure. It's been there for a long time. It has internal rot, woodpecker damage, and it will be replaced with steel, which is the new standard. Same configuration, 3 poles, steel, in the same location. There is a wetland and a perennial stream located adjacent to the structure. So in order to access and complete the replacement work, Eversource is going to employ their best management practices, which incorporates timber matting to get out to the structure. They'll set up a 100 by 100 work pad around the structure to stage equipment and crews. They'll replace the structure and they'll work themselves out, pulling out the timber matting and restoring any exposed soil disturbed areas. On top of the timber matting, likely they'll put out some erosion controls, so either silt sock or silt fence to prevent any sedimentation into the wetlands in the surrounding area, and they'll remove that when they leave. And then this spring, depending on a couple follow-up visits, if additional seeding or soil stabilization is required, they'll take care of that. And that's kind of their standard approach to doing these maintenance projects. So we're in front of you tonight because we're impacting the Wetland and Surface Water Conservation District with it's all temporary impact because it's an existing pole we're replacing in kind, and we're removing the timber matting. So all the temporary impacts are actually from the timber mats themselves, but the timber mats do a good job with sort of distributing weight, and actually they create less disturbance in the wetland when you use those. So the plan itself has the impact square footage on there. I can get into that, but it's in front of you. I believe it is a total of 3,433 square feet of direct temporary wetland impact. And then there's 13,259 square feet of temporary stream buffer impact, and 120 square feet, 79 linear feet of direct temporary stream impact. So I have the conditions of the conservation, the Wetland and Surface Water Conservation District in front of me. If you'd like, I could read through that. They're stated in the application, what we're seeking to grant this conditional use upon.
Joanne, is this the part of the formal dialogue that we need for the granting of the conditional use permit, or is this just extra from what we normally
It's
request?
just- I think you just need to do the conditional use permit portion.
Did you provide the applicant with the correct terminology and how they're supposed to speak to this? Or did they?
Yeah, well, there's a whole list of criteria.
Right.
Normally, you don't go over each one individually. Usually, the applicant just makes an overall statement as to how they comply.
How we done it in the past? I thought we,
That's what I thought too.
That's
individually, or?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, that's for waivers. But for conditional use permits, it's in the staff report, the list of the requirements
In the 1541 section?
consider. It's, yes.
So you're saying that how does this properly get recorded by the applicant into the record? How do they properly do this? So we don't make a
Usually gets well, I think you already submitted your overall letter, so that would be included in the record as they're explaining what they're doing and how they meet the requirements, and there's a certified wetland scientist report that's also included in their letter. But then you just need them to state how so the board needs to vote on whether the application, in the end, the board would need to vote on whether the application follows the procedure and requirements of a conditional use permit.
Yeah, because normally, as I remember how Jim would do this, we'd get down to the 15414, and then go right down to 411, and then how the use is specifically authorized in the ordinance, and then there's 5 or 6 in a row that have to be read into the record.
That's all I recall we did it
Right.
last time.
That is how we
Okay.
did it.
So do you have that in front of you by any chance?
I do.
You have it?
Yes, I do.
Okay, because you're going to need to read that into the record
Sure.
for the formal approval process, so we've
Okay.
covered our bases. So in terms of, is this where we are with right now, Joanne? Should we ask for this portion to be done at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so could you please state, give us your statements in regard to the conditional use permit?
Sure. So Eversource Energy is seeking permission through a conditional use permit application for meeting the criteria of section 15.4.1.4 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance, and criteria 15.4.1.4.1, the
And-
use.
Yeah, you have to read that full text.
Yes, the use is specifically authorized in the ordinance as a conditional use. Our response is section 13.3.7.1 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance allows the replacement of power lines in the Water Surface and Wetland Conservation District as a conditional use as granted by the planning board.
Okay?
Moving on, item 15.4.1.4.2. If completed as proposed by the applicant, the development in its proposed location will comply with all requirements of this section and with the specific conditions or standards established in this ordinance for the particular use. Our response is the proposed structure replacement requires temporary impact to Wetland 1 and stream S1 for access to structure 138 for the establishment of a work pad around the structure to stage construction equipment and work crews. No permanent impact is proposed within Wetland 1 or stream S1. No impacts are proposed to stream S2 located to the north of the project footprint. The project has been carefully designed to avoid and minimize impacts to jurisdictional resource areas to the maximum extent practicable. A summary of the proposed impacts to Wetland 1 and Stream S1 have been provided on the plans. Within the town of Goffstown, structure 138 to be replaced along the Q171 line will require approximately 3,433 square feet of temporary wetland impact as a result of the placement of timber matting. Placement of timber matting will also result in approximately 13,259 square feet of temporary stream buffer impact, with 120 square feet, 79 linear feet of direct temporary stream impact. Once the structure replacement has been completed, timber matting will be removed and disturbed areas will be restored and stabilized. Erosion and sediment control measures, specifically straw wattles, will be used where there's potential for erosion near Wetland 1 and Stream S1, and all work will be completed in accordance with the best management practices for utility maintenance in New Hampshire. Item 15.4.1.4.3. The use will be compatible with the neighborhood and with adjoining or abutting uses in the area in which it is to be located. The existing use within the right-of-way is power transmission, and the use will not change. Item 15.4.1.4.4. The use will not have a substantial adverse impact on vehicular or pedestrian safety. No adverse impacts to vehicular or pedestrian safety are anticipated, as the work being conducted will take place along the Q171 transmission line right away without direct access from Elm Street. Access will be gained through the existing park and ride facility off of Elm Street. Item 15.4.1.4.5. The use will not have a substantial adverse impact on the appearance and visual quality of the surrounding neighborhood. In evaluating visual impact, the planning board may consider architectural and design elements. The replacement of structure 138 will not have an adverse impact on the appearance and visual quality of the surrounding neighborhood. The existing wood structure will be replaced with a weathered steel structure approximately the same height and within 10 feet of its current location. Impacts to wetlands are to be restored to pre-construction conditions. And finally, 15.4.1.4.6. The use will be adequately serviced by necessary public utilities and by community facilities and services of a sufficient capacity to ensure the proper operation of the proposed use. The project involves structure replacement for a public utility pole. No additional transmission lines or additional capacity of the existing lines are proposed.
Thank you for that oration.
I'd just like to clarify one point,
Go ahead.
on item 4, when you referred to a park and ride facility, that's what we call the Glen Lake boat trailer parking lot.
Yep.
Yes, right, okay.
So I have one item that I'd like to bring up before the board. You're going to access the site, according to your diagram, through the parking lot, which is the boat trailer parking lot, and begin construction from there in. I'd like you to assume responsibility for that parking lot for any damage that may occur as a result of the equipment coming and going to access that site. Because that parking lot, the only weight it's ever had on it is pickup trucks and empty boat trailers, which is next to nothing. And I know the type of equipment that is required to do this job, and I just want to be sure that it's going to be in the record and part of our conditions that Eversource will be responsible to restore that parking lot to any damage that occurs as a result of this project. Do you agree to that?
Yep.
Good. So Joanne, could you add that on our recommendation, approval of conditions number 3, and word it accordingly for restoration of any damage to the existing paved parking lot as a result of the construction activities?
Sure, except that there should be some documentation as to how the parking lot is when they first start.
Well, then, yeah, maybe we could have you photograph the parking lot for your own protection, so that doesn't come out that you damaged something that you did not damage.
Usually we videotape it.
Good. Good. Well, just brought that up because that wasn't mentioned, and I think it's important that it becomes part of the record. So you'll, including a videotape of the site, Joanne, and then restoration of any damage.
And just so you know, we have talked to the DPW and Highway Department about the parking lot, and they're good with us utilizing it, and obviously it would also be their expectation that we wouldn't damage it, and if we did, we'd take care of it, so.
And you said, what's your time frame on this project, your proposed time frame?
I believe they're looking to get out as soon as next week.
Because I'm just thinking
Start to
about
work.
a late season use would interfere with the use of that parking lot. And I know
Right.
you guys have a lot of trucks that have to be staged to
Yeah.
do a project like
We
this.
should, assuming we have no strange weather,
Yeah,
we should be done by the end of March.
okay, well then that'll work time-wise for not affecting that parking lot's
Yeah.
use. Okay, good, well, that's your representation. All right, any discussion on this from the board at this point?
No.
Okay, well, I need to open the public hearing.
Roy's not gonna say anything.
8:20. Anybody from the public would like to speak to this application? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Board members. Somebody say something.
I mean, I'll make the motion to approve the application subject to the 3 conditions, the 2 on here, and the 3rd condition about videoing and repairing the parking lot if damaged to its original condition.
So just to be clear, Karen, your motion is to grant the conditional use permit?
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's fine, just to make sure it was in the record. With the 3 conditions
Yes.
noted by staff? Is it 3 or 2?
There's
So
2
we
and then
added
we just
3.
had add-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. With staff conditions.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion on the matter before the board? Any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of granting the conditional use permit, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Passes unanimously. Good to go, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other business?
I was gonna give it a second, just breathe for a second. I don't wanna rush out of here.
Since pole 138 is an angle on a major transmission line, it's rather critical.
Need it in it, because they go this way?
Yeah, the lines, different angle point, those are critical points in
Oh,
the
yeah,
power line.
oh, yeah, 'cause they pull both
And
directions.
they don't have much choice about
Right.
where the pole goes.
Do we have any other business, Joanne, before the board tonight?
No, do you want to know your next schedule?
Yeah, is it in our
So the
packet?
next meeting.
Bye, Sarah, thank you for coming.
Bye, Sarah.
Sarah. The next meeting is March 12th. So we have, the Sports Dome is coming in for their site plan. We have Green Thumb Landscaping coming in for
These are
conceptual.
pencil notes, not what you
Yeah.
distributed.
I added those too. Green Thumb is coming in for conceptual, for retail landscaping type, retail landscaping type of business.
Where's that gonna be requested for?
Do you know the property near the Irving station on the opposite side of the street where the Dunkin' Donuts wanted to go?
Okay,
That site there. We have someone coming in, a homeowner, that wants to add a second driveway onto his property lives on Kennedy Hill Road. And then we have the solar array project coming in for an amended, or it's not amended, they're starting over again. They've gone from 5 megawatts to 2.
Really?
so Joanne, I know we had a meeting recently where we had a bunch of stuff in our packet that was going to be needed to bring to a subsequent meeting, so you didn't have to reproduce it. Could you make sure we get a heads up on that
Yeah.
information?
That was the lead project.
Right.
So.
The one down in,
The apart.
It's the one I keep bringing every session.
well, I just want to make
So-
sure, yeah.
They went to the zoning board, or they were scheduled to go before the zoning board February 11th, and they asked to be continued to March 3rd. That's why they haven't returned to this board yet.
All right, but please notify us in our packet that we need to bring our
Okay.
lead stuff with us, because I would hate to show up without it and then not have it. Any other business?
Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Phil, second by Karen. Boy, that's a real tag team tonight.
I know.
The other side of the table has been very quiet.
I'm only a guest tonight.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, Adam, in the back there.